Rekmaz means the drifting, and their friendship begins to die.
Well, that's what happens to folks when you go away for 20 years.
20 years?
Past, present, future. It's all written in stone, my dear.
The episode begins one morning at the Teen Titans Tower as Starfire plans to celebrate Blorthog, the Tamaranian festival of friendship, only to find the others uninterested. Everyone is busy minding their own businesses. She tries to get them to celebrate with her, but no one is listening to her, and keep on bickering until Cyborg causes her to drop one of her necklaces. Starfire gets fed up and screams to get their attention. She then warns them of what the Tamaranian called Rekma, which means drifting or when close friends slowly begin to drift away. They assure her that it's never going to happen, and Robin points out that they are just arguing like typical roommates and everything is normal. They tell her they will always remain friends, to Starfire's delight. Suddenly, the Titan's communicator alerts them of some trouble. Starfire stares at the broken necklace on the floor before following the others. At a museum, a time-traveling villain from 100 years in the future named Warp emerges from a time portal. He attempts to steal the Clock of Eternity, a valuable artifact from the current time and a priceless one in the future. The Titans arrive to confront him, but as he has enough knowledge from the future to defeat the Titans, he manages to fight them off easily using his futuristic weapons. He opens a time portal again, planning to return to his time in the future with the artifact. As he steps into the portal, Starfire charges toward him and together they disappear as it closes. They arrive inside the time stream where Starfire tries to subdue him. Warp warns her to stop, until Starfire snatches the vortex regulator from his chest plate, causing them to get stuck in the current timeline. Starfire lands in a snow-covered land and sees the wrecked Titan's tower in the distance. There, she meets Cyborg, who's now only attached to a bulky power generator as his last power cell has been drained up a few years ago. Cyborg is shocked, seeing Starfire hasn't aged at all, and reveals that they are now 20 years into the future. He says that the rest of the Titans have gone separate ways due to her disappearance 20 years ago. Starfire says that it must be because of Warp, and insists they find the others to restore everything to normal. Cyborg says he can't as the generator is the only thing that's keeping him alive, but he can tell her where to find Raven and Beast Boy. As for Robin, he says he hasn't heard from him a long time ago. Starfire leaves and finds the bald Beast Boy in a circus, caged in a small cell, who refuses to come with her. She then finds Raven, who has fallen in despair from loneliness, believing that she is only a part of her hallucinations. Starfire continues and tries to find Robin, but she runs into Warp again, who has aged due to the loss of his vortex regulator, the core of his time-traveling suit. He demands she hands over the vortex regulator for him to return to his own time, but Starfire refuses and insists he returns everything to normal in the past. Warp, however, explains that nothing has been damaged in her past as history cannot be rewritten. He adds that the reason he went back in time is to steal the Clock of Eternity, which was lost in time because he stole it in the first place. He explains that it all goes in a loop, everything connects and is inevitable. He takes the vortex regulator from Starfire, but before he can make another move, someone attacks him. A brief fight ensues until Warp is forced to retreat in the meantime to fix his vortex regulator first. The man who saved Starfire emerges from the shadows, whom she calls Robin. The man tells her he hasn't used that name for a long time and introduces himself as Nightwing. Nightwing takes Starfire to his hideout where Starfire explains what has happened. But she's slowly losing hope due to what Warp has explained and deems the mission impossible. Nightwing notes that the impossible is not hopeless as the Titans have overcome many impossible feats in the past. Nightwing then pulls out his old Titans communicator he had kept since their disbandment in case he'll need it again. He activates the communicator, alerting the rest of the Titans one last time. At the Metro Art Technologies Museum, Warp is about to finish refitting the vortex regulator in his time-traveling suit when Nightwing and Starfire arrive to stop him. Nightwing knocks the welding device from Warp's hands, infuriating Warp, who blasts them with laser beams. Nightwing and Starfire deploy explosive attacks, but Warp manages to protect himself with a force bubble, before blasting them again. Nightwing evades the laser beams, allowing him to destroy one of Warp's laser guns. The fight continues. When Warp is finally knocked down, he shoots his laser beam to the ceiling, opening a hole for the snow to land over Starfire. He then blasts Nightwing away before grabbing the welding device, but he is stopped by Cyborg, who now has his power cell recharged. Beast Boy then arrives, and Raven follows. Now that the Titans are complete, Warp attempts to flee and opens a portal, but Nightwing throws his Berterang and hits Warp's vortex regulator, causing it to malfunction and turn Warp into an infant. Cyborg uses the regulator to open a time portal for Starfire to return to her time. Starfire is bothered by how they ended up in the future, but Nightwing tells her there's no time and hands her the clock of eternity. Starfire enters and the portal gradually closes. Starfire appears in a museum at the exact time just as she tackles Warp into the portal. She shows them the clock of eternity while saying that the artifact was not lost in time, proving Warp's conclusion wrong. The Titans return to the tower where Starfire recounts her adventure. They are bewildered hearing this while Beast Boy's only concern is his hair. Starfire concludes that though their disbanding is inevitable, their friendship proves to be strong enough to change Warp's past. In the meantime, Raven brings up the celebration of Blorthog, much to Starfire's delight. She presents each one of them with the necklace she made. Robin can't help but get interested in his identity as Nightwing in the future. On the next episode, a spaceship crashes in a forest and a green dog appears from the smoke. Meanwhile, Beast Boy tries to include himself in what the rest of the Titans are doing, but he ends up getting left out. Feeling lonely and no one wants to spend time with him, he announces he'll go downtown to party and asks if anybody wants to come, but no one answers. There, he sees two young girls and introduces himself, trying to impress them. However, his hand slips on the pizza and the pitcher lands directly on his head. The girls walk away, laughing. He then sees them petting a dog nearby, and decides to transform himself into a dog to get their attention. But the girl points out how disgusting he looks and smells and pushes him away. Meanwhile, the green dog from the spaceship crash is at a dumpster, finding food when a spaceship appears and chases after it. While Beast Boy sadly wanders around, the other green dog collides with him and they both get knocked to the ground. The spaceship catches up and captures Beast Boy instead of the other dog. Beast Boy then accidentally leaves his communicator. At the spaceship, Beast Boy is restrained with a collar on his neck when a gigantic alien arrives, calling him a bad dog. Beast Boy transforms and asks if the alien has the right dog. The Titans arrive at the park where they discover an area of burned grass and Beast Boy's communicator. Suddenly, the other green dog appears and jumps into Raven, licking her. The Titans have mistaken it for Beast Boy, and are now wondering why Beast Boy is behaving strangely. A car passes by and the dog goes after it. Believing it was Beast Boy, the Titans chase it around town, to no avail. They cannot get a hold of the dog as it evades them in every way. In the spaceship, Beast Boy tries to convince the owner of the dog, Soto, that he's not the dog he was after. Beast Boy transforms into different animals in an attempt to break free from the collar, which amuses Soto, who enjoys watching him transform. Though he now knows that Beast Boy was not his original dog, Soto proclaims him his new pet, and orders him to transform again. Beast Boy refuses to obey, but Soto pulls out the collar's remote and pushes a button. The collar sends out electricity which zaps Beast Boy, who has no choice but to change. Soto pushes the button again and again as he orders Beast Boy to change. When he's had enough fun, he announces he'll bring Beast Boy back home to his planet and proceeds to start up the ship's engines. Meanwhile, the Titans reunite as they chase the green dog into an alley, but it escapes again into the sewers as it turns to its liquid-like form. The Titans finally realize it was not Beast Boy. They then try to find the dog in the sewers and Cyborg questions why they need to continue chasing the dog. The others imply that if the dog was not Beast Boy, then the alien who was after it mistakenly captured Beast Boy and the dog is their only way to find their friend. Cyborg suggests they need bait to capture the dog and everyone starts looking at Raven. While the dog is on the streets, Raven approaches it and it immediately responds to her. As it runs toward Raven, Starfire captures it with a sphere before Robin seals it, preventing the dog to escape. While the Titans are talking about how they can track Beast Boy using the dog, they are suddenly bewildered when it starts talking, offering its help in exchange for their help. It says he was Soto's dog from another planet, who escapes the spaceship when it passes Earth and tells them that his master has mistakenly taken Beast Boy. Soto's spaceship has completed the takeoff preparations and Soto activates the engines. The ship flies off, but it suddenly stops mid-flight and an unknown force causes it to begin descending. Outside, Starfire pushes the ship back to the ground. Soto engages the ship's full power, but Robin, Cyborg, and Raven manage to pull it down. Raven opens the hatch and Soto emerges, enraged. He attacks the Titans and tries slamming them with his gigantic fists. Starfire and Cyborg blast Soto together, but he manages to protect himself with a rock before charging toward them and sending them flying like bowling pins. Raven uses her powers to stop Soto with a tree, but he catches it and swings it back to Raven and Cyborg. The Titans are having a hard time fighting off Soto with his massive size and body made of rock. Soto gains the upper hand and knocks Cyborg and Starfire down. Robin says they need more to defeat Soto. Just then, Beast Boy attacks Soto in the form of an elephant and Soto immediately pulls out his remote, swearing to punish Beast Boy, but the collar rolls toward his feet. Beast Boy then transforms into a T-Rex and knocks Soto away. He then turns into a pterodactyl and flies off to hit Soto in the air as a kangaroo. The rest of the Titans follow, and with their combined attacks, they finally take down Soto, who begins weeping. Just then, the green dog places a collar on Soto's neck, and orders him to sit and stay. Soto cheerfully greets the dog, but it says he refuses to be his pet. Soto then volunteers himself to be the pet and the dog as his master. The dog then calls out to Soto to enter the spaceship, and they depart together. The Titans then welcome Beast Boy back, citing how they need and miss him. Raven suggests they grab a pizza, but Beast Boy says he's got enough attention for the day. The episode begins on a bright sunny day at a canyon near Jump City. A young, blonde-haired girl runs for her life from a giant scorpion chasing after her. The scorpion corners her just as the Teen Titans appear to help her. To their surprise, the girl reveals her superpowers and lifts a huge stone bridge before hammering it down the scorpion, finishing it in an instant. The Titans realize she doesn't need help, and begin to wonder who is she. Unbeknownst to them, Slade watches from a distance, mumbling to himself that he saw the girl first. The girl then uses her power to lift herself to greet the Titans. Robin introduces himself and she responds with her name, Terra. She then proceeds to state the names of the other Titans correctly. When Terra tells Beast Boy she finds him hilarious, Beast Boy's eyes turn into hearts and he collapses. Starfire enthusiastically asks her about where she came from, her favorite color, and if she wants to be friends. Terra answers them all and agrees, making Starfire hug her in excitement. Starfire invites her to come with them back to the tower. Beast Boy and Cyborg encourage her to come, and though reluctant at first, she finally agrees. As they leave, Robin grabs a pile of dirt and tells Raven he suspects that something is not right. Slade, who's been watching them since earlier, disappears again into the cave. Terra is amazed at the Titans' tower, and cannot believe that the Titans live there. They offer her food, which she happily eats. Starfire asks her to try her special dish called the glork, which she finds delicious. She then takes a bath and washes her clothes before eventually falling asleep on the couch. Robin then comments that Terra needs to train with them the next day if she'll be joining the team, which Terra hears. At night, Beast Boy visits her to offer her a blanket only to find she's not there. He finds her near the bay, playing with stones. Terra says she needs to leave, but Beast Boy manages to convince her to stay one more day. Terra suddenly lifts a rock, revealing that she has no complete control over her powers. She then asks Beast Boy to keep it as a secret. The next day, after Cyborg finishes the Titans' training obstacle course, Robin tells Terra she's up next. The Titans cheer her on as she prepares, with Beast Boy reminding her that she can do it. Though Terra cannot control her powers completely, she manages to complete the obstacle much faster than Cyborg, but the obstacle course ends up destroyed. The Titans congratulate her and she hugs Beast Boy for encouraging her. Suddenly, they are alerted of Slade's presence. Robin informs them that Slade has returned and tracks him down in a mine. The Titans rush to the mine and Terra watches as they leave. Beast Boy then tells her to come with them. Inside the mine, Slade's robot soldiers attack the miners to steal diamonds. They are interrupted when the Titans arrive. They easily defeat the first wave of Slade's minions, but Starfire gets caught. Cyborg rushes to her aid but one of the minions takes over the giant drill and drives toward him. Raven knocks the driver out of the driller with her powers. Beast Boy transforms into a giant dino and walks backward toward Terra, who tries to fend off the minions surrounding them with her powers. Terra accidentally causes a cave-in, dropping boulders into Beast Boy and crushing him. Panicking due to her guilt, Terra runs away. As the Titans try to take the boulders out, Beast Boy emerges unharmed as a gorilla. Deep inside the mine, Terra spots Slade who appears to be desperately running away. She goes after him and causes a cave-in, blocking Slade's way. Terra believes she has caught Slade but Slade jumps behind her and tackles her before deploying an explosive that collapses the ceiling, trapping them inside. Slade confronts her and Terra fights back by using her Geo powers. Due to her lack of control over her powers, Slade pushes her back toward a wall and corners her. Terra warns him that she's with the Titans, but Slade corrects her saying she doesn't belong with them. Slade then reveals he knows everything about her, citing how her good intention to help people always ends up in calamities. Slade says she can be his apprentice and he will help her achieve control of her powers, better than the Titans can. He adds that even Beast Boy cannot help her, causing her to erupt in anger. Her emotions cause a small hurricane, which causes the mines to begin collapsing. The Titans start to evacuate, but Beast Boy is nowhere. Before he leaves, Slade reminds her he will be waiting for her. Just then, Beast Boy arrives and calms her down. He promises not to let anyone know that she cannot control her powers. Later, at the Titan's tower, Terra announces she is leaving, but Robin stops her and says they came to a decision to let Terra join the team and gives her a Titan's communicator. He mentions that she needs to train with them first to have better control. Hearing this, Terra drops the communicator and confronts Beast Boy for revealing her secret. Despite Beast Boy's explanations, Terra storms out, leaving the saddened Beast Boy. He follows Terra and finds her hairpin near the bay. Robin arrives and apologizes that he doesn't know it was a secret as he has figured it out himself. Beast Boy sadly responds that Terra didn't even say goodbye. Meanwhile, Slade watches Terra runs away and says that she will end up with him no matter where she goes. On the next episode, the Teen Titans are conducting a training exercise at the Titans gym. Robin and Starfire are doing combat exercises while Raven enhances her psychic ability. Beast Boy is on a treadmill, measuring his speed limits as different animals, and Cyborg tests his strength by weightlifting. In his arm is a device that tells him how much of his strength capacity he has used. The Titans cheer him on with Robin telling him to push his limits as the robot continues to add weights. Cyborg tells him he can't, but Robin continues to tell him he can. When he reaches 100%, Cyborg jumps off as the load crashes on the floor. Irritated, Cyborg storms out. Robin goes after him, telling him he's on his side and he just wants to push him a little. Cyborg says he can exceed his limits when he was an athlete in the past and always succeeded. But now that he's half robot, his strength is already built into his robot body. Robin says he doesn't know and Cyborg says now he does before walking away. Later, the Titans enter the ops room, trying to get Cyborg out of the video game. Starfire tries to distract him with a Tamaranian folk song, but Cyborg is displeased. Beast Boy tries to entertain him, to no avail. Lastly, Raven tries to make him laugh with no luck at all. Robin then tells the other Titans to give Cyborg some space. Just as they leave, Cyborg defeats the best player in the video game, Atlas, who demands a rematch. Cyborg accepts the challenge. Suddenly, a gigantic robot, Atlas, appears in front of him and grabs Cyborg, telling him to fight right there and then. Atlas throws Cyborg out of the window and into the bay where they begin to fight. Atlas pounds the water with his fist, sending a water attack toward Cyborg, who charges and hammers him with punches. The Titans notice the fight from the cracked window and rush out to help Cyborg, but they are blocked by Spike, Atlas' mechanic. Robin then shoves him aside. Atlas overpowers Cyborg and he slams him into a rock before throwing him over the Titans' tower and declares himself to be the winner. The Titans arrive and attack him, however, their efforts prove futile as Atlas captures them inside force bubbles. They try to escape but the bubbles don't even bulge or crack. Atlas intends to use them as trophies. Cyborg returns and demands Atlas let his friends go, but Atlas refuses and blasts his hand cannon. Atlas says he'll free the Titans if Cyborg fights him in a fair, one-on-one fight at the abandoned stadium in Jump City. Atlas then teleports away with the captured Titans and Spike. As soon as Atlas leaves, Cyborg trains and refits himself with new components in preparation for his fight with Atlas. At the stadium, the Titans are placed on top of trophies beside Atlas, who's now waiting for his opponent. Atlas calls over Spike to prepare him for the fight, and Spike wipes his back while giving some tips but he dismisses him. Just then, Cyborg arrives to confront him. Atlas insults him, not expecting him to come. He orders Spike to remove his additional armor layer for a fair fight. As Atlas and Cyborg charge toward each other, Robin points out to Spike how Atlas treats him miserably, but Spike refuses to listen. Atlas smashes Cyborg through the wall of the stadium, but Cyborg manages to counter with a blow that sends Atlas down to the ground. Cyborg then jumps in full strength and lands on top of Atlas. However, his attacks don't seem to work on Atlas, who eventually overpowers him, throwing him through the walls. Both panting, Atlas and Cyborg exchange punches before pushing against each other. Cyborg's power meter reaches his limit, and Atlas brings him to his knees before knocking him out with a fist. Cyborg concedes defeat and asks to release his friends but Atlas refuses to do so, having taken back his promise. He wants to keep the Titans as his trophies and Cyborg cannot do anything about it. Robin tries to encourage him to fight but Cyborg says he can't. He stares as Atlas leaves with his friends. Later, Atlas plays a video game while the Titans try to find a way out. Spike tells them they can't escape. Robin tells him if Atlas is truly great then why is he being treated poorly, making Spike question his loyalty. Meanwhile, Cyborg walks away from the stadium, convinced that Atlas was right about him, a loser. Suddenly, his reflection begins talking to him and says that he cannot leave his friends there. His human side is the part of him that can defeat Atlas. Cyborg realizes it and stares at his power meter before returning to the stadium. Back at the stadium, Atlas is disappointed when he learns that the oil given to him was not warm enough and spits it in Spike's face. Spike realizes what Robin has said earlier and stands up against Atlas, refusing to follow his order. Atlas grabs him and throws him across the room. Just then, Cyborg arrives, demanding a rematch. Now relying on his human part, Cyborg draws first blood and knocks Atlas away. Atlas then responds with an uppercut, sending Cyborg through the ceiling and into the stadium. Watching the fight, Robin asks Spike why he continues to serve Atlas, to which Spike responds that Atlas is stronger than him. Robin notes that Atlas is only strong because of him and without him, he is nothing. The fight continues. Cyborg gains the upper hand and blasts Atlas away with his detachable arm cannon. However, Atlas finds an underground wire and zaps Cyborg with it before demanding Spike refit his weapons. When Spike refuses, Atlas shoves him aside. Spike then releases the Titans from the force bubbles and Atlas tries to run away, but the Titans block the exit, forcing him to finish the fight with Cyborg. Without holding back, Cyborg overpowers Atlas, landing several blows that knock him down. Atlas recovers and grabs Cyborg's fist, pushing against him. Cyborg's power meter reaches 100% as Atlas taunts him he cannot win. The Titans cheer him on and with his human strength, his power meter breaks, his strength reaches up to 130%. He then lifts Atlas and throws him to the ground where he gets crushed by the rubbles. He then concedes and admits that Cyborg is the better robot. Cyborg corrects him, saying that he's a better person. When the Titans leave, Atlas orders Spike to refit him, but Spike throws the utility belt in front of him, and says he does it himself. Outside the stadium, the Titans congratulate Cyborg and Robin tells him they should replace his power meter. Cyborg says he doesn't need it anymore, though his body has its limits, he can overcome them with determination. After all, he's only human. The episode starts off at a video rental store where people are desperately trying to flee from an attack caused by a living television controlled by a man with a remote capable of turning inanimate things into living monsters. As his monster monitor attacks the cashier, a sonic blast knocks it away. It was from Cyborg, who arrives with the rest of the Titans. The man then introduces himself as Control Freak before pointing the remote at a nearby trash can, terrifying Raven. Cyborg rushes to her aid and takes down the trash can, but Control Freak uses the remote again on the cash registers, the tape shelf, and a cardboard samurai. Robin fights off the samurai while Beast Boy is up against the giant shelf. He transforms into a T-Rex, accidentally scaring the monster shelf. Control Freak then ensnares Raven with VHS tapes before having the monster candies attack Cyborg. Starfire fights off the monster registers, but the giant monitor grabs her with its tentacle. Meanwhile, Robin slashes the samurai into two. When the monsters eventually surround them, Robin throws his Bertarang toward the fire sprinklers, activating them. The water from the sprinklers causes the monsters to short-circuit and shut down, along with Control Freak's remote. After neutralizing Control Freak, Beast Boy digs into the pile of rental CDs and finds a famous horror movie called Wicked Scary. He then gathers the others back at the Titans Tower for a scary movie night. Robin receives a call from Beast Boy for an emergency after he secures Control Freak's remote only to find out it was about the movie. Beast Boy explains that the movie was cursed. The movie begins and ends with the petrified Titans, saying how scary it was that Cyborg wanted to stop it midway. Beast Boy asks Raven, who refuses to admit that she, as well, was frightened. Later, Raven jolts awake from a thunderstorm and gets scared by the eerie feeling of her bedroom. Suddenly, she hears a woman scream coming from the living room. There, she finds the other Titans who were also woken by the scream, which they note as the same one from Wicked Scary, but nobody has left the movie on. The lights turn off and a tentacle touches Robin's shoulder, which he believes was Beast Boy's. However, Beast Boy points out he's not behind him. Just then, the monster from the movie appears from the dark. The monster attacks and the Titans try to fight it off, but its tentacles give them a hard time. Raven then learns that her powers are gone when she tries using them against the monster and nothing happens. As the Titans attempt to stop it, the monster suddenly vanishes to their surprise. They begin to wonder what's going on and Beast Boy believes they summoned the monster from a portal to another dimension when they watched the movie, but Robin has another theory. Control Freak has broken out of prison and has taken the remote to seek revenge. However, Raven points out that it doesn't explain why her powers suddenly stopped working. Robin suggests they split up, but Beast Boy strongly objects, saying that the monster will take them one by one just like in the movie. As they search, they suddenly hear a cry for help coming from Beast Boy's room only to find out it was from a toy monkey inside the closet. Beast Boy keeps saying Raven was afraid, which she intently denies. All of a sudden, the monster appears again and chases them down the corridors. They suddenly fall into a bottomless pit, but thanks to Starfire's power and Robin's grappling hook, they manage to get to safety. With the monster out of sight, they gather in the corridors, and when Beast Boy is about to mock Raven again, the monster ensnares him into the dark doorway and vanishes. When they open the door of the evidence room, they find no sign of Beast Boy. There, they find that Control Freak's remote is where Robin has left it, and he begins to suspect that Control Freak has nothing to do with what's happening. Robin begins deducing everything that has happened and comes up that it was all based on fear. Before he can tell them his conclusion, the monster who took Beast Boy ensnares him and takes him into the shadows. Cyborg punches a hole through the wall to save Robin, but there's nothing behind it. Left without no idea what Robin was about to say, Cyborg, Starfire, and Raven search the living room again, but there's no trace of either of the two. They proceed to the basement, the place they haven't checked before. As they go, Starfire suddenly blasts the floor when she notices something crawling on it. Raven tells her it was probably rats, but Starfire points behind them and a horde of rat-like monsters with red glowing eyes attack them. They all run for the stairs, but Starfire is ambushed by the rat monsters, which pile up over her. Cyborg tries to help her, but the monsters vanish into the floor along with Starfire. Cyborg suggests they get out to get more help, which Raven agrees. Along the way, Cyborg tells her not to be afraid, but Raven emphasizes she's not before walking ahead. A moment later, Raven finds out that Cyborg is gone as well, and only she remains in the dark corridors. Suddenly, a winged monster charges right at her. Raven desperately runs for her life toward the elevator and narrowly escapes the monster. She sighs in relief, but a black liquid instantly fills up the elevator and spills out into the living room as it stops. Now alone, Raven runs as the monsters start appearing from the exits and corners her against the glass window. A giant wolf-like creature emerges from the window and snarls at her. Raven denies that she's afraid but eventually admits to herself that she is. Being afraid doesn't mean she can't fight back. She musters her powers and casts a spell to absorb the monsters before passing out on the floor. Raven wakes up and finds the Titans alive and well. Robin tells them that the monsters weren't real but only manifestations of Raven's fear that she created by accident when she denies she's afraid. Raven sheepishly apologizes as the sun rises. The other Titans proceed to their room to catch some sleep, and Beast Boy notes that Raven's fear is scarier than the movie. He suggests doing it again for Halloween, but Raven refuses. On the next episode, at his headquarters, Killer Moth is setting his plans into motion when his daughter, Kitten, calls out to him in despair. She explains that her boyfriend breaks up with him a day before her junior prom and demands his father find her another date, someone popular, handsome, and cool, whom the other girls would be jealous about. Meanwhile, Robin dons his helmet and rides his motorcycle in pursuit of a spider-headed jewelry thief along with the rest of the Titans in the T-car. The thief attacks the Titans before running away with its long spider legs. Starfire and Robin try to stop it, but their attacks are useless. Cyborg blasts it with a cannon, but it fights back with a sticky goo, trapping Beast Boy against a wall. It then attacks Starfire before blocking the road with the sticky goo. Raven uses her powers to allow their car and Robin's motorcycle to pass through. The thief continues trying to evade the Titans with the sticky goo before jumping off a bridge and crawling to the top of a building. Robin chases after it as it jumps on the roof until the thief hits him with a venom that instantly paralyzes him. Starfire then swoops in to save him. Cyborg, Raven, and Beast Boy continue the search for the thief while Starfire takes Beast Boy to the Titan's tower, where he gradually recovers. He contacts the other Titans for a status report regarding the thief, but they inform him they found something worse. The bridge is being attacked by thousands of gigantic moths that can easily chew through steel. The bridge's suspensions snap and the bridge begins to collapse. Cyborg gives the go signal to attack and they start to neutralize the moths. Cyborg welds the broken suspension steel while Beast Boy rides one of the moths, attempting to stop it. Meanwhile, Raven is being chased by a horde of moths and Beast Boy comes to her aid. Just as they thought they finished them all, a mountain-like horde of moths appear, prompting Cyborg to ask for backup. As Robin and Starfire leave, Killer Moth appears on screen and stops them. Killer Moth warns them to obey his orders if they don't want him to release his entire swarm. He then declares the conditions: he will be declared as the city's ruler, the Titans will surrender to him, and Robin will take his daughter, Kitten, to prom. When Starfire learns that the prom is like a date, she strongly disagrees and Robin takes her outside to talk for a bit. Starfire continues to express her strong objection while Robin asks Cyborg about the situation on the bridge. Having no choice, Robin decides to accept Killer Moth's requests. Back at the bridge, the moths begin to outnumber the Titans, giving them a hard time defending the bridge. Suddenly, the entire swarm flies away. Confused, they begin to wonder what just happened when Robin informs them he has bought them some time. He tells them to track Killer Moth starting from his daughter, Kitten. Robin adds that Kitten must have some kind of connection with Killer Moth and sends Starfire to go with them to find it, much to Starfire's dismay. Robin arrives at the prom party, where he meets Starfire dressed in an evening gown. Though Robin sent her to help the others, Starfire insists she investigates Kitten thoroughly. Just then, Kitten arrives in a pink limousine and calls out to Robin. Together, they enter the cruise ship where the prom will take place. Starfire, who's seething in anger, follows close behind. As Robin dances with Kitten, unwillingly, he contacts the Titans and asks if they managed to track down Killer Moth. Cyborg responds that they haven't, but they have found Kitten's home which they are currently investigating. Beast Boy accidentally opens an entrance to the basement and they walk down the stairs to check. He turns on the light and finds themselves amid huge tubes that contain the giant moths. Beast Boy informs Robin they found Killer Moth, who's lurking above them. Killer Moth warns them before he dives in for the attack. Meanwhile, knowing that the Titans have found Killer Moth, Robin dumps Kitten. Robin is shocked to see Kitten pulls out the trigger to the entire swarm and tells him her daddy is not who's gonna make the call, but she is. Robin tries to take the trigger from her, but Kitten's boyfriend, Fong, arrives and attacks Robin. He was the spider-headed thief the Titans chased downtown. The lovers reconcile with a kiss before Fong charges toward Robin and Starfire. Back in the basement, Killer Moth easily overpowers the Titans, knocking them down in a pile. At the ship, Fong attacks Robin with his toxins and spider legs, but Robin manages to hold off all his attacks before throwing him overboard. Fong recovers and fights Robin with his fists before climbing to the wires. Robin lands a flying kick and takes Fong down the deck before diving into him for another attack. Fong catches him with his spider legs before hurling him away. Kitten, amused by the fight, declares that they are fighting over him, which makes Starfire's blood boil. A fight ensues between the two which ends up ruining Kitten's dress. Furious, Kitten activates the trigger and releases the swarm of giant moths. Raven, Cyborg, and Beast Boy begin sealing the exits. Just then, Robin finally takes down Fong and Starfire knocks the trigger away from Kitten's hand. Robin steps on it and crumbles it into pieces. Kitten screams just as the giant moths transform into larvae. The authorities take Fong, Killer Moth, and Kitten to jail, with Kitten promising to take revenge. Later, Robin and Starfire are named the king and queen of the prom. Robin then takes Starfire for a final dance as the episode ends.